When you look at the world today, it's easy to feel like things are fractured, maybe even in turmoil. So, where do we find a real foundation for hope and for unity? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty profound response to that very question. It's drawn from a message from the Universal House of Justice, and it offers his incredible vision of family life as the very bedrock for a more peaceful world. This line from the message, "To weather the tumultuous storms of a perilous age," that just hits home, doesn't it? It really captures the feeling of our current global reality. But here's the thing. Instead of just dwelling on the danger, the message uses this as a starting point, a way to offer a real framework for building our resilience and our hope. So here's the big question. In a world that feels like it's fracturing, where can we find that true foundation for unity? When so many of our social structures feel like they're under so much strain, where do we even begin to look? Well, the Baha'i teachings suggest the answer isn't in some far-off grand institution. Nope, it begins right here, in the home. Okay, so to really get the Baha'i perspective on the family, we first have to zoom out a little and appreciate the unique historical moment that we're all living in. The Baha'i writings see this as a really pivotal stage for all of humanity. You could call it our collective coming of age. The idea is that humanity as a whole is basically moving out of a chaotic adolescence and into its age of maturity. And what that means is that the old ways of doing things, the old ways of organizing society, they're just not enough anymore. As Abdul Baha explained, this new era demands that we're imbued with new virtues and powers to meet the needs of this new age. So, if humanity is maturing, where do we learn these new virtues and capacities? And this brings us right to the heart of the message, the absolutely fundamental role of the family in this whole global transition. It's seen as a nation in miniature. In the Baha'i vision, the family is the most basic, the most essential unit of society. It's not just some private, personal thing. It's the crucible, the very place where we first learn how to build community. So if our goal is a thriving global civilization, the work has to start with this one essential building block. This analogy from Abdul Baha is just so powerful, and it really captures the whole idea. Think about it. The patterns we see in a family, whether it's justice, love, or conflict, they don't just stay inside the home. They ripple outward. They actually shape the culture of the entire nation. So a healthy family becomes the seed of a healthy world. Now, this new way of thinking about family life, it's all anchored in a new understanding of marriage itself. It's seen as way more than just a social contract. It's a profound spiritual partnership. So in the Baha'i view, marriage is this deep spiritual partnership. And it has what you could call a twofold moral purpose. First, it's for the couple to help each other grow spiritually, to develop all those unique talents God gave them. And second, their unity, their partnership, becomes a contribution to making civilization better. It's a sacred bond that's meant to last not just in this life, but for all the worlds of God. And here we see a really key difference. The Baha'i approach weaves together all these vital parts of a relationship, love, equality, fidelity, raising children, into what the Universal House of Justice calls a fortress for personal and social well-being. And this is so different from a lot of social trends we see, which tend to pull these elements apart. And at the end of the day, that just weakens the family. At the very heart of this partnership, the absolute core, is the principle of the full equality of women and men. And this isn't just some nice idea. It's seen as a practical necessity for a marriage and a family to truly thrive. When equality is the foundation, that spiritual and intellectual bond between the partners just gets stronger. And that, in turn, provides this incredibly powerful, living example for their children, who then carry that model of true partnership out into the world. So when a marriage is founded on a spiritual partnership like that, it just naturally creates this unique environment for nurturing purpose in the next generation. It's about raising children who are capable of contributing to a better world. The Baha'i home is really envisioned as this space for conscious, spiritual, and moral growth. Abdul Baha explains that the family has to be educated according to the rules of sanctity. What this means is creating an atmosphere of mutual respect, a place where every person's rights are protected and relationships are really based on justice and love. And this education isn't just a one-off thing. It's a progressive journey. It starts with the absolute basics of a spiritual life, learning to pray, learning to love God. From there, it expands to developing virtues, then to acquiring knowledge, not just spiritual, but of the arts and sciences too. And it all leads to developing a lifelong attitude of service to all of humanity. It's really about educating the whole person, mind and spirit. Now, the Bahá'í writings give this really special recognition to the mother as the first educator of the child. She's the one shaping their character from the very beginning. But, and this is so important, this vital role doesn't take away from the father's role at all. He shares an equal responsibility for the children's moral and spiritual growth and has the primary duty to provide for the family. It's this beautiful, collaborative partnership. So when families actually function this way, as these spiritual partnerships, nurturing a new generation, their influence can't help but extend beyond their own front door. They become a really powerful force for building a better world. You see, a Bahá'í family doesn't live in a bubble. It consciously works to counter all those forces of disintegration that we see eating away at society. By building a home on principles like love, justice, and unity, it becomes a living, breathing antidote to prejudice, to materialism, and to all the conflicts that tear our communities apart. And it's not just about pushing back against the negative. The family actively fosters the principles needed for social transformation. I mean, think about it. Children who are raised with a deep-down belief in the oneness of humanity, who learn how to use consultation to solve problems, and who are taught to investigate truth for themselves, they become powerful agents for building a just and peaceful world. So ultimately, the home itself gets transformed. It's not just a private sanctuary anymore, it becomes a real center for community life. It's a social space where warm hospitality meets spiritual growth and intellectual progress, and it weaves these bonds of trust and cooperation right there at the grassroots level. This beautiful quote from Abdul Baha really just captures the whole aspiration. The goal is to create a home that's not just a shelter, but a source of light and peace and joy for every single person who walks through the door. A haven that lights up the lives of the family and the entire community. And that really leaves us with a profound question to think about. You know, in our search for these huge solutions to the world's problems, what if the most powerful thing we can do is the deeply personal, spiritual work of building a family and a home that can serve as a beacon of hope for all humanity? The Bahá'í vision shows us the family as this quiet but incredibly powerful engine for making the world better. If you're interested in exploring more ideas that are helping to shape a more hopeful future, please go ahead and subscribe for our future explainers. Thank you so much for joining us.